The edge of defiance. The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the viewport of the UEF Thunderbolt, a canvas of darkness punctuated by distant stars. Captain Elena Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, the blue glow of the ship's tactical display casting shadows across her weathered face. 20 years of service to the United Earth Fleet had left their mark. A scar above her right eye from the Battle of Proxima, silver streaks through her once jet-black hair, and eyes that held the quiet determination of someone who had seen both triumph and tragedy among the stars. Captain, long-range sensors have detected unusual movement in the Arcturus sector, announced Lieutenant Commander Hiroshi Tanaka, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface of his station. The pattern matches Krell warship formations. Reyes nodded, her expression unchanged though her mind raced with implications. The Krell Empire, a collective of 7 sentient species unified under the tyranny of the Krell overlords, had been expanding their territory at an alarming rate. 3 civilizations had already fallen to their superior technology and overwhelming numbers in the past solar year alone. "Show me," she ordered. The main view screen shifted to display a tactical map of the sector. Dozens of red markers moved in perfect formation toward the edge of human-controlled space, specifically toward New Eden, a thriving colony of 3 million souls that served as humanity's agricultural center. "Analysis?" Reyes asked, turning to Science Officer Dr. Elara Voss. The tall, slender woman with copper skin and piercing green eyes stepped forward. "They're moving deliberately, Captain. Not a raid or skirmish force. This is a full invasion fleet. I count 37 capital ships, each capable of planetary bombardment." Commander Jackson Wade, Reyes' second-in-command and oldest friend, let out a low whistle. "That's more firepower than the Krell have committed to any single campaign." "They mean business. And we're all that stands between them and New Eden," Reyes said quietly, eyeing the single blue marker that represented the Thunderbolt. Their vessel was formidable, the latest in human military technology, but it was just one ship against an armada. "Captain, incoming transmission from Alliance Command," called Communications Officer Nadia Chen. "Admiral Hargrove, Priority Alpha." "Put him through," Reyes ordered, straightening her uniform jacket. The stern face of Admiral William Hargrove appeared on screen, his expression grim. "Captain Reyes, our long-range sensors have confirmed what you're seeing. The Krell are making their move against humanity. The Thunderbolt stands ready, Admiral. We can intercept them at the Tannhauser Gate, force them to funnel through. It would give the colony time to evacuate and for reinforcements to arrive." Hargrove's face hardened. "There will be no reinforcements, Captain. The Alliance Council has made its decision." Decision. Reyes felt a cold knot form in her stomach. "We're negotiating terms of surrender with the Krell Empire." The bridge fell silent. Reyes could feel the eyes of her crew upon her, waiting for her reaction. She kept her voice level despite the anger rising within her. "With all due respect, Admiral, surrender is not an option. The Krell don't accept surrender. They accept subjugation. Every species that's bowed to them has been stripped of all rights, their populations relegated to slave labor or worse." "This is beyond your pay grade, Captain," Hargrove snapped. "The Krell outnumber us 3-to-1 in ships, 5-to-1 in troops. Their technology is decades ahead of ours. The Council has decided that a negotiated peace is preferable to annihilation. And what are their terms? They want immediate access to all human colonies, control of our jump gates," and Hargrove hesitated, "and a percentage of our population for cultural integration." "You mean slaves," Reyes said flatly. The Admiral didn't deny it. "Your orders are to stand down and return to Earth immediately. The Thunderbolt is too valuable to lose in a pointless last stand." Reyes glanced around the bridge, meeting the eyes of each crew member. She saw fear there, but also something else: determination, pride, resolve. These weren't just the best officers in the fleet. They were the embodiment of humanity's relentless spirit. "Admiral," she said carefully, "our communication seems to be experiencing interference. I'm afraid I didn't receive your last transmission clearly." Hargrove's eyes narrowed. "Captain Rice, don't do this. That's an order." "Strange," she continued. "The interference is getting worse. We'll have to continue this conversation when communications improve." She made a cutting motion across her throat, and Chen terminated the connection. The bridge was silent for a long moment before Wade spoke up. "You realize this is mutiny, Captain?" Reyes nodded. "I'm well aware, Commander. I won't order any of you to follow me into this. Anyone who wishes to be recorded as opposing this action may do so now." No one moved. No one spoke. Finally, Tanaka cleared his throat. "The way I see it, Captain, we never received orders to return to Earth. Communication failure. Very unfortunate." A small smile touched Raya's lips. "Very unfortunate indeed, Lieutenant Commander." "So," Wade asked, "what's the plan? Even you can't think we can take on 37 Krell warships and win?" Reyes moved to the tactical display, studying the approaching fleet. "No, not in a conventional battle. But the Krell have never faced humanity when our backs are against the wall." She zoomed in on a section of space between their position and the Krell fleet. "We make our stand here, at the Hephaestus Nebula." Dr. Voss raised an eyebrow. "The radiation interference in that nebula will compromise our sensors and shields." "It will compromise theirs too," Reyes replied. "And the Thunderbolt has one advantage no other ship in the fleet has, Project Damon." A hush fell over the bridge. Project Damon was a highly classified experimental system installed on the Thunderbolt as a last resort weapon. It had never been tested in actual combat. "Captain," Wade said carefully, "Damon is theoretical at best, catastrophic at worst. We don't know what it might do to the ship, or to us. What we do know," Reyes countered, "is what the Krell will do to humanity if we don't stop them here. We've all seen the footage from the Centauri colonies, from the Arcturus mining stations. I'm not willing to let that happen to Earth or any human world." She straightened, addressing the entire bridge crew. "I won't lie to you. Our chances are slim. But throughout history, humanity has faced impossible odds and survived. Not because we were stronger or more advanced, but because we refused to accept defeat when everything logical said we should." Reyes looked out at the stars, at the distant lights of human colonies that depended on them. "The Krell believe we will surrender because it's the rational choice. They expect us to calculate the odds and submit. But they don't understand what it means to be human. To stand and fight not because victory is certain, but because the alternative is unacceptable." She turned back to her crew, her voice firm with conviction. "Plot a course for the Hephaestus Nebula. Maximum speed. Prepare all weapon systems, and bring Project Damon online. We're going to show the Krell that humanity doesn't bow to tyranny. Not today. Not ever." As the Thunderbolt surged forward, accelerating toward what might be their final battle, Reyes felt a strange calm settle over her. Whatever happened next, they would face it as humans always had, with defiance against the darkness, with courage in the face of fear, and with the unshakable belief that freedom was worth any price. The Hephaestus Nebula loomed ahead, a swirling mass of cosmic dust and radiation that painted the viewport in shades of crimson and gold. Within its chaotic embrace, the Thunderbolt would make its stand. One ship against an empire, one crew against the tide of conquest, one captain's defiance against the surrender of worlds. The Krell would learn what countless adversaries throughout human history had learned, that the most dangerous opponent isn't the one with superior numbers or technology, but the one who refuses to accept that defeat is inevitable. As they penetrated the nebula's outer boundary, Reyes gave the order that would echo across the stars. "Battle stations. Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for what it means to be human. Humanity's echo." The Thunderbolt slipped deeper into the Hephaestus Nebula, the swirling cosmic gases rendering it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. Captain Reyes studied the tactical display as the Krell fleet approached, their formation spreading out to surround the nebula. "They know we're in here," Wade observed, standing at Raya's side. "They're setting up a blockade rather than following us in." As expected, Reyes nodded. "The Krell are methodical to a fault. They won't risk their capital ships in the nebula's radiation when they can wait us out." Tanaka looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting smaller vessels breaking formation. Scout ships, most likely. They're entering the nebula." "And so it begins," Reyes said. "Dr. Voss, what's the status of Project Damon?" The science officer's fingers moved across her console, bringing up a display of the ship's experimental system. "The quantum field generator is stable, but I must emphasize again that we don't fully understand all the potential consequences of activation." "Noted, Doctor." Reyes turned to her tactical officer. "Lieutenant Quan, prepare the Chimera drones. Deploy on my mark." "Drones ready, Captain," replied the young officer, his hand steady despite the tension on the bridge. Reyes took a deep breath. Project Damon was more than a weapon. It was a gamble with forces that humanity had only begun to understand. The system utilized quantum entanglement to create temporary mirror images of the Thunderbolt, complete with functioning weapons and shields, though each copy could only exist for minutes before quantum coherence collapsed. "Deploy Chimera drones, dispersal pattern Alpha," she ordered. "Activate passive sensors only." The small, unmanned craft silently launched from the Thunderbolt's bays, disappearing into the colored mists of the nebula. They would be the eyes and ears of the ship while its main sensors remained dormant to avoid detection. First Krell scout detected, bearing 047 Mark 112, reported Quan as data from the drones fed into the tactical systems. Second and third scouts at bearings 165 Mark 030 and 210 Mark 355. "They're performing a standard search pattern," Wade noted. "Methodical, thorough, and predictable," Reyes added. "Lieutenant Chen, prepare a tight beam communication to the scout at bearing 047. Krell language, Imperial military encryption." The communications officer looked surprised but quickly complied. "Ready, Captain." "Transmit the following. Scout 7 to command. Human vessel detected attempting to flee through Sector 9. Requesting reinforcements." Reyes allowed herself a small smile. "Let's introduce some chaos into their methodical approach." Within minutes, the tactical display showed the Krell response. 5 warships breaking from the blockade formation to investigate the false sighting. "Now we spring the trap," Reyes said. "Dr. Voss, initiate Project Damon." 3 projections. Voss hesitated only briefly before entering the command sequence. The ship hummed with power as the quantum field generator activated, drawing enormous energy from the Thunderbolt's experimental fusion core. "Quantum entanglement established," Voss reported, her voice tense. Projections forming. On the tactical display, 3 new signatures appeared, identical to the Thunderbolt in every way that sensors could detect. The quantum projections were perfect copies, down to the crew life signs and energy signatures. "Projection stable, Captain," Voss continued. "Estimated coherence time, 8 minutes, 17 seconds. "More than enough," Reyes said. "Tactical. Assign attack patterns to projections 1 through 3. Target the incoming Krell warships. Thunderbolt Actual will remain here." "Attack patterns programmed," Quan confirmed. Projections moving to engage. The 3 Phantom ships accelerated out of the nebula, weapons hot. The Krell, expecting to find a single fleeing vessel, suddenly faced what appeared to be 3 heavy warships launching a coordinated attack. "The Krell are responding," Tanaka reported. "Their formation is breaking. More ships are moving to support the engaged vessels." Reyes nodded, watching as confusion spread through the Krell fleet. The disciplined blockade was fragmenting as commanders responded to what they perceived as a surprise attack from multiple vessels that hadn't been there moments before. "Captain," Wade said quietly, "we've created the distraction. What's the next phase?" Reyes' eyes never left the tactical display. Now we strike at their heart. While they're focused on the phantoms, we target their command ship. She moved to the center of the bridge. Helm, plot a course directly for the Krell flagship. Maximum stealth. Use the radiation currents in the nebula to mask our approach. Course plotted. The Helm officer confirmed. Ready on your order. The quantum projections are drawing more Krell ships from the blockade. Tanaka reported. 23 vessels now engage. Excellent, Ray said. The moment the projections collapse, the Krell will realize they've been fighting ghosts. They'll be confused, angry, and most importantly, their formation will be in disarray. She turned to Wade. This is where we make our move. Captain, Voss interrupted. I'm detecting an energy signature from the Krell flagship unlike anything we've seen before. It appears they've been holding back their true capabilities. Rice studied the new data. Some kind of graviton-based weapon. Yes, and it's powerful enough to tear a planet apart, Voss confirmed grimly. If they deploy this against New Eden, then we make sure they never get the chance, Rice finished. Adjust the plan. We don't just bloody their nose. We take out that weapon. The projections are beginning to destabilize, Voss warned. Quantum coherence failing. Perfect timing, Ray said. Helm, execute approach vector. Weapons, prepare all railguns and Nova torpedoes. Target their flagship's primary weapon array. The Thunderbolt slipped through the nebula's swirling gases, approaching the Krell blockade from below. On the tactical display, the 3 quantum projections finally succumbed to physics, dissolving into quantum particles and leaving confused Krell warships firing at empty space. We're in position, the Helm officer reported, 5,000 kilometers from the Krell flagship. Rice took a deep breath. Take us out of the nebula, full power to forward shields. Weapons free. The thunderbolt burst from the cosmic mists like an avenging spirit, all weapons blazing at the Krell flagship. The massive alien vessel, caught completely off guard, took heavy damage before its shields could fully engage. Direct hits on their primary weapon array, Quan reported, excitement in his voice. Their graviton weapon is offline. They're responding, Tanaka warned. All Krell vessels converging on our position. As expected, Rice said calmly. Dr. Voss, initiate Phase 2 of Project Damon. Voss looked up, shocked. Captain, we don't know if the system can handle a second activation so soon. We're about to find out, Rice replied. Do it. The ship shuddered as the quantum field generator reactivated, drawing dangerous levels of power from the fusion core. This time, instead of creating projections of the Thunderbolt, the system did something far more audacious. It created quantum disruption fields around the nearest Krell vessels. Quantum disruption field stable, Voss reported, her voice tight with concentration. Affecting 7 Krell ships. Their systems are experiencing quantum uncertainty. On the view screen, the affected Krell vessels began to behave erratically. Their weapons fired at random, shields fluctuated, and in 2 cases, their engines engaged at full power, sending them careening into other ships in their formation. The Krell flagship is hailing us, Chen announced, surprise evident in her voice. On screen, Rise ordered. The image of a Krell overlord appeared, a tall, reptilian being with multiple eyes arranged in a ring around its head. Its voice translator conveyed both rage and confusion. Human vessel, what technology is this? How are you creating these quantum anomalies? Reyes stood tall, facing the alien commander. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth Fleet. You have entered human space with hostile intent. We are demonstrating that such aggression will not be tolerated. The Krell overlord's eye ring contracted. Impossible. Our intelligence indicated human technology was incapable of quantum manipulation on this scale. Your intelligence was wrong, Rice stated flatly. As was your assumption that humanity would surrender. We don't bow to threats, Overlord. Not now, not ever. You are still outnumbered, the Krell insisted. This trickery merely delays the inevitable. Does it? Rise asked. Your flagship's main weapon is disabled. 7 of your vessels are compromised, and the rest of your fleet is in disarray. Meanwhile, I've just transmitted the specifications of our quantum technology to every human colony and outpost. By the time you regroup, every human ship will be capable of what you've witnessed today. It was a bluff, of course. Project Damon was unique to the Thunderbolt, and its second activation was already pushing the system beyond its designed limits. But the Krell didn't know that. The Overlord was silent for a long moment. You would risk annihilation rather than accept the protection of the Krell Empire. We would risk everything for freedom, Rise responded. That's what it means to be human. We suggest you withdraw from human space immediately and reconsider your expansion plans. After a tense silence, the Overlord made a gesture that the ship's computer interpreted as reluctant assent. We will withdraw to reassess. But this is not the end, human. No, Rise agreed. It's just the beginning of your education about humanity. As the transmission ended, the bridge crew remained tense, watching as the Krell fleet slowly began to regroup and withdraw. They're actually leaving, Wade said, disbelief in his voice. For now, Rise cautioned, they'll be back, but with respect rather than contempt. She turned to Voss. Status of Project Damon. The science officer shook her head. The quantum field generator is severely damaged. We won't be able to use it again without extensive repairs. It served its purpose, Rise said. One ship with experimental technology won't win a war, but it changed the Krell's perception of humanity. That's worth more than 1,000 warships. As the Thunderbolt set course for New Eden, Rise gazed at the retreating Krell fleet. Humanity had earned a reprieve, not through overwhelming force, but through the qualities that had defined the species since they first looked up at the stars: ingenuity, courage, and the absolute refusal to accept subjugation. Captain, Chen interrupted her thoughts. Incoming transmission from Alliance Command. It's Admiral Hargrove again. Rise squared her shoulders. Put him through. Hargrove's face appeared on screen, his expression a complex mixture of anger and grudging respect. Captain Rise, I see reports that the Krell fleet is withdrawing from human space. Would you care to explain how that's possible when you were ordered to return to Earth? Communications malfunction. Admiral, Rise replied evenly. Most unfortunate. By the time we restored systems, we found ourselves engaged with the Krell fleet and had no choice but to defend human territory. Hargrove didn't look convinced. The Alliance Council is in an uproar. Half of them want you court-martialed for disobeying direct orders. The other half want to give you a medal for saving New Eden. And what do you want, Admiral? Rise asked. The older man's stern expression softened slightly. I want what you want, Captain. A future where humanity stands on its own terms, not on its knees. He straightened. Report to Alliance headquarters when you reach New Eden. There will be consequences for your actions today, but also recognition. The Krell have requested formal diplomatic relations instead of demanding surrender. Whatever you did out there changed the equation. We showed them who we are, Admiral, Rise said simply. Nothing more. After the transmission ended, Wade approached her. So, court-martial or medal? Rise shrugged. Probably both. But that's not what matters. She looked around at her crew, each face filled with pride and exhaustion. What matters is that today, humanity stood its ground. We faced an enemy that outmatched us in every conventional measure, and we prevailed not because we were stronger, but because we refused to accept that strength alone determines destiny. As the Thunderbolt journeyed homeward, the stars seemed to shine brighter than before. In the vast darkness of space, humanity had declared itself, not through conquest or dominance, but through the quiet defiance that had carried the species from cave dwellings to the stars. It was a message that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity does not bow, not to fire, not to fury, not to fear itself.